Deck tape's been developed over a number of years to protect the frame when using a better board like a composite, or actually the board you're using on this job is the Aero. Is that how you pronounce it?
Yeah, that's correct. Aero
decking, which typically has what, a 25-year lifespan?
Yeah, on average.
And that will well outlast a timber frame without some protection. Got a number of sizes we've got here, 50mm right up to 300mm.
Oh.
And I'll go into the detail of each product one by one, but typically when you've got a lovely frame like this, you want to get the tops of the joist protected. And then when you've got multiple joists, I think on one of the situations here you've got 3 joists, is that right?
Yeah, that's correct.
Come together?
Yeah, so we'll be putting a triple in today.
Brilliant, a triple, that's the word.
Yeah.
You're getting a triple joist down there. You've got obviously 2 grooves in there where you've got the joists together. Water typically gets straight into that gap and it has nowhere to go except in the joint and will rot it out. So we've got the protective tape that will go right over those 3 joists. We'll go right up to 6 joists if you need to.
Wow.
Because some boards will be curved. Some of these composite decking, they will actually curve it.
There we go.
You've got to have that protection right across all 3. So here we start. We've got the 50mm wide, and then you've got right up to the 300mm wide. Really simply put, the point is you've obviously going to protect the timber, but you're obviously going to be driving screws through it as well. So that's quite important. When you're driving any fixing through the tape, it needs to self-seal, which is exactly what this does. There's actually 4 layers in this tape. I might just get a little piece and show you.
Yeah, that's it.
First of all, it tears really nice and straight.
Wow.
So you just go along that on that edge. You see how quickly and easy that tears. That's to minimise waste, because a lot of people, they'll get scissors and a knife or try and cut a tape and it sticks together and you're always going to get waste. This is made up of 4 layers. Now there's actually quite an important point here. Underneath, on the adhesive side, this backing is put on here to stop any moisture.
Wow.
When you peel that off, the chemical reaction is that it will actually start curing. It takes about 1 to 4 hours depending on the temperature. When it's slightly warmer it'll be a bit quicker, like today it probably sort of 3 or 4 hours.
Yeah.
Fully cured is 24 hours, but this adhesive, if you can see on my thumb here, if I put my thumb, dirty old thumb, sorry, you can see it'll actually start, it's got a bit of moisture in it to start curing. Now take a product like polyurethane glue, right?
Yeah.
After it's gone off, it needs moisture to obviously cure it. It will swell slightly.
Okay.
Back to the point of putting screws through. Once this tape is on the joist, on the timber, you're sticking it on, the underneath of the layer, the adhesive, will actually slightly swell, which will always put pressure on the screw, on the shank of the screw, so it won't let the moisture through.
Okay.
Dead simple. The other nice thing about this is when you're working with it, if it's going onto itself like this, you can just pull it straight off again.
Wow,
a lot of tapes, if you put them face to face, they'll be like, oh no.
When you did that, I was like, oh no.
It just comes straight off. Dead simple. If you had to leave that,
that's amazing.
After 3 or 4 hours, you will not get that back off.
Yeah, once it's
that's finished. Yeah.
Okay, fair dues.
So if you've got obviously the tape in the wrong place and you're sticking it onto the timber, you're thinking, no, I've got to pull that back off, get it onto a different place. You've got that movement with it.
That's
actually, it's not like the most important thing, but it's actually very useful to minimise any waste. You'll see, if I was to leave this here, that will soak into the timber, and tomorrow you'll see where the grain is, it would have sucked right into it.
Wow.
So that's what it does, it really etches into the timber. But straight away you'll see that you can reposition it, it's probably the best word to use.
Yeah.
But once that's gone off, you're going to get a planer to get that off. You know, you won't be able to get it off. Yeah.
Wow.
If you look carefully at this shiny surface here, you'll see it's made up of hundreds of little squares.
Yeah.
That's really important to know this, because it will expand and contract. So when you've got cold, that'll go down to -40 and plus 120 degrees.
Wow.
And if you look at those 2 measurements, the extremes, you will get a lot of movement. And it's the repetitive cycle of that movement that actually ruins tape on a deck. Because when most tapes will go on there, it will stretch and then it won't contract back to where it was, and you'll get little splits where the screws were. It will open up, and this is what this originally was designed for.
That's very interesting.
You can see all the little grids in there.
Oh yeah,
and it will move both ways. So if there's tension, like if you've got a lot of people on one end and the deck will move, the timber moves.
Yeah.
It will absorb that movement, and that's the biggest issue. Is where you've got a standard tape, sit it on there, it will crack and it won't go back. So that's an important point of that one. So I've learnt this from a few boys that have got gazebos and hair dryers and all sorts of things, and they're just not. It's just not happening for them. But if this is soaking wet timber, I wouldn't obviously recommend it when it's chucking it down rain, but even if it is wet, if you can get a vertical surface, so you're trying to protect the top of this joist here, if you've got vertical surface here or even on this side, typically that's going to be dry, or drier. So get a little length. If you can just run a piece up the edge, it doesn't have to be much, just enough so it holds it.
Alright, so just that's enough.
Just a little piece like that. Take this tape off. Again, if that obviously falls together, get it nice and straight. Put that on here. In fact, I'm just going to pull that off. I don't like that little bubble. Just get that straight. And I would just tear it here, like that.
Okay.
Get them nice and straight. Those two edges there will hold. If that is soaking wet underneath here, that will still cure. You'll come back tomorrow morning and that'll be absolutely gone off.
Okay.
Even if it's wet, because naturally what it's going to do is the moisture will come down the timber. This will absorb into the timber, and when it dries, it might not go completely cured, but this will always remain sticky. So even if it hasn't gone off tomorrow, when that dries out, it will soak around that timber and dry completely out.
Okay.
And a bond to it.
And am I right in assuming the slight extra width is to just get that wrap around onto the vertical face, let the water run off?
You've got it typically a regularised timber is about 47 mil. 46, maybe 48 sometimes, depending which sawmill. But nearly most of the time it's 47. And it just gives it enough to wrap down both sides nice and neat. That's all you need. Actually, on this point, when you look at that, if you've got a board, a darker board, aesthetically the look of it is actually quite nice, because when you look between the boards and you see something very white or light like that, this gives it a lovely finish underneath the board. Nice. It actually looks, if you had another board here, I haven't got one. But
no, that looks amazing.
we spent ages in our lab with a load of timber, which was very light C24 timbers, and putting the tape on it, and then we had these little, they're like, imagine a bottle lid, it's not, because they were square, filled them with coloured water, and we tried all sorts of different screws, stainless steel, carbon fibre, what's it called? Standard carbon steel, sorry.
No.
And big screws, small screws, cross heads, all sorts of different threads on it to see what difference it was.
Yeah.
And with that coloured water, you would see if there's any penetration of water through here. And as I was saying earlier, that white gap here, where the adhesive is, was swelled up slightly, so none of the coloured water got through. It makes a big difference to understand that when you're penetrating it, there is no moisture getting through that.
You can see we've got a multitude of different sort of thicknesses of frames. We've gone through the single, you've got a double, this will be a triple, so we haven't gotten to that stage unfortunately. So over here we've created sort of a temporary triple, so you understand what we'll be doing, and it is in the right spot. So this, we're going to have an internal in here, so that will make it triple joist, so that represents this here. So the main man Fred is going to talk us through this phenomenal triple joist tape. Can you believe it?
We can go up to 6, but this is obviously a triple.
Yeah.
But is this where you're putting in a bench?
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay, so that's for the extra support.
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay. And obviously where we see a lot of the trouble is where the water gets down in between these, and it can only go in between the joists, and it will rot out. Unfortunately, it takes time, but it will do. So, cool, goodness knows, 3 years ago, we were obviously only had one size, 50mm, but overlapping 50mm onto 50mm was really fiddly, so it went to 100, and then contractors saying, hey, do you know what, we need 150 or 180 or 200, so this one here is a perfect fit, 150mm, for triple joist, so we would literally just simply get it back in the middle like that, start it off, and run it down the joist. So then we have, just clean that bit off there. If you needed to, some people will even get an edge here, just tear it slightly, pull it down like this, far out straight, and then just roll that down there. So you've got those two protected as well.
How easy that was.
Don't even need a knife. Far out, just run that across. And there is your joist, triple joist, and where those joints are, you'll always get the moisture has to travel off that. Don't go into it.
You can see it here, like the slight indentation, so you can imagine people at home. So yeah, so imagine if we did a bitumen coat, admittedly like we did on our last project, but we were able to use some of the deck tape in certain applications. But you can imagine even with bitumen, the water is going to get down into that join, and it will get onto the untreated timber. Whereas with the triple joist tape, look at that, nothing's getting in there.
And you can see around here how neat this just makes that finish.
Look at that, and you saw how easy it was. Like, I'm even impressed. Like, I'm here in person, and that looked magical.
When some of these guys are doing a curved deck,
yeah,
and they're running like a composite that they'll heat up and they'll make a curve, they'll have to have multiple noggins in here to protect them. Some of the time it's easy just to pack it out, and this tape here will cover most radiuses. Even if the noggins with one piece here, next piece around here, and carry on, this will carry on. It's extremely easy, without any knife, just to tear a piece off, wrap it over the edges. Obviously you haven't got any noggins in here, and you have a solid piece, and then you can go to the next one a little bit further around, and that whole area is protected.
That is awesome.
On situations where you're putting the joist directly onto a load-bearing wall or block, as you've got here, there will be water obviously on here. You want to stop or protect this from going up inside the joist. So the best way to do it, I'm a bit lucky here because I can move this one around. It's not already in place, but if you're just going to be putting a piece on this side, obviously it'll be all the way down on this, if it was on the wall, but just wrap that back on here. That is all you need to protect that against moisture ingress into the timber. I've noticed on your deck here you've done a brilliant job of treating all the ends, but as soon as you cut through any joists here, even treated timbers, you'll see this is a complete area where the moisture or the water will just go straight into, so you need to protect those. And that's really, really simple with a piece of the deck tape. Always what we do, is just, if I can make it easy here, is put it on just roughly, it doesn't have to be exactly accurate, pull the tops down first, so we've got it like this, pull it down, pull it across like that, and then all we do is we neaten out the edge this side here, the top, both sides, sorry, can you see that? And then you just fold that across like that. Look at that. Get the bottom, do exactly the same. Now, depending which way the moisture is going to travel, if this is the top, you want the you want to lift this one up so that there's no place where the moisture can trap in. So you overlap it this way, so it's always going to fall down and go off.
That's awesome.
If you had it this way, you obviously the water's going to get into there. So you just peel it back up, cross it across like that, and rub it down. That is completely protected. Even if you put a screw through, whatever, you're going to have that completely.
Look at that, that is awesome. And guys, it is like genuinely seamless like that. There's no edges, nothing. That is, I'd be more than happy to work with that. That is awesome.